So in this video, I'm going to talk about the cost of living in Singapore as a 30-year-old Singaporean. Recently, I've seen quite a few of these videos by expats who are talking about how much money they spend working in Singapore. It's honestly quite interesting to hear about how much they need to get by in Singapore, but I realized that I could actually share about how much it actually costs living here as a Singaporean my entire life. I painstakingly documented all my expenses in the month of October so you get a sneak peek of how much it costs to live in Singapore. So before we take a look at how much I spent in October, let's first look at the expenses in September and compare and see which is higher. Over here, you'll see all the categories of spending in September, and it amounts to a grand total of $6,441.85. So it's definitely almost double of my usual spending because I had an overseas trip to Vietnam and I paid for my parents as well, so that covers around half that total spending. I didn't just ball out with my salary and just buy whatever I want, a new car, go and buy a fancy nice Rolex watch. I didn't do any of those things. I actually went on a good holiday with my parents, so it makes me look like a filial son or anything, but I haven't been holiday with them for a long time, so I figured this would be a nice time to at least catch up with them. So an average month for me would be somewhere around $3,000, including taxes, rent, and all the other miscellaneous things that I have accounted for. That's kind of the average that I've realized after tracking my expenses for the last 6 months or so. The plan is of course to reduce my spending as much as I can month on month and cut out unnecessarily big expenses, especially ones that are done on impulse buying. So I'm sure that we are all victims, should I say guilty, of doing impulse buying here and there, but if you do find the trigger and you do not stop the root of the problem, you're essentially choosing to repeat your mistake. There's this interesting phrase that I heard recently, which is mistakes that are being repeated is a decision, and if you choose not to change it, it basically just means that you're choosing to repeatedly make the same mistake of spending more money. So for the first two categories, it would be life and entertainment and transportation. So for life and entertainment, it's actually just $8 and it was for a haircut, nothing too crazy, just me cutting my hair every 2 months, and I think it's actually a relatively normal expense. Fun fact is that whenever my hair is too long, I actually find it really uncomfortable, and I become quite unproductive as well in my work, in YouTube, and every other things and aspects in my life. So I do think that I can somehow, if I squeeze it, I can somehow classify this as under a business expense in some sense. For transportation, I spent a total of $149.50 this month. This is a bit higher than usual because I took a couple of cabs this month because of my traveling. I had to take the taxi down to the airport and then a taxi back from the airport as well. So I took 3 cabs in total, costing for about $50. So I'm going to try to cut down on this month, but it's nothing really too crazy. It's really just $50, but it's also worth cutting down the unnecessary expenses. But for now, the total spending comes out to $157.50. For phone bills, it's just my usual M1 subscription bill with the international data roaming that I subscribed for during my 1-week trip to Vietnam. So the monthly bill is actually around $70.22, but the international roaming costs around $35. I know, before you start flaming me in the comments, I know that there are definitely alternate SIM cards out there and stuff that I can use that will probably be a bit cheaper by a little bit when I travel, but I just couldn't be bothered to spend the effort and time to purchase them and risk losing my current SIM card. I actually think just using the M1 app is really quite convenient for me. I probably have to pay around $10 to $20 more, but I just have to kind of toggle it on and off with the subscription on the M1 app itself, and that leaves me good enough data roaming for overseas trip, which I'm pretty happy with. I'm honestly perfectly fine with paying a little bit more and getting things done a bit more conveniently. Finally, as I grow older, I realized that one of the best ways of using money is honestly to use them to save either time or bring convenience to your life. So if I have the option to spend a bit more to do either of this, I will gladly do so any time of the day right now. This brings the total spending to $262.72. Next up will be miscellaneous subscriptions, and thankfully I did not subscribe for anything new this month, fingers crossed. If you're following my previous videos, you would know that I kind of went on a killing spree a little bit, or rather a spending spree the last few months, subscribing to new things every single month just to improve my YouTube channel. A lot of the subscriptions I indeed purchased just to improve my YouTube channel, like the thumbnail idea websites and title creation websites. So I currently have 7 subscriptions, and 6 of them consist of things like Photoshop, Google Storage, what else, Notion, and even things like Creator Hooks Pro. So all this just helped to smoothen my process of doing YouTube a little bit better, like helping with thumbnail and title ideas. So I consider this a very valuable business expense. The other subscription that I kind of use more for pleasure is actually more for YouTube Premium. Those of you guys who don't have it, I actually think that you should try it out. It's honestly life-changing to never ever have to watch any YouTube ads anymore. Those of you who are still watching YouTube ads, I really think you are missing out, and you should really get this subscription. I shouldn't be promoting unnecessary spending, that's for sure, but it just brought me so much more joy to not watch the ads or wait for things. I can just load any video I want any time of the day, which is really nice, especially when I'm running. I can actually listen to these music videos and all the music that I can in order to enjoy my run a little bit more. Those of you guys who want that, you can actually give it a try. But technically, I also watch YouTube for idea generation for my YouTube channel as well, so arguably this is also a business expense. All in all, the subscriptions cost me $193, and that brings the total spending to $455.72. For investments, these usually belong to books or courses that I buy or pay my editor for the edited YouTube videos that you see on my YouTube channel that I upload for you guys, like this one over here. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but in the month of October, because I was traveling with my girlfriend and my parents, I decided to actually take a 1 week break and I didn't post for 1 week. I know, all the YouTubers out there are gonna go crazy because consistency is one of the biggest things that they preach, and if you don't consistently upload videos on the channel, what happens is your channel is gonna die. But I found that honestly, all these things are just in your head. It's nothing that really happened. At most, my views dropped a little bit during the month that I didn't upload the video, but nothing much actually happened. Life still continues as usual. All the YouTube channels have been present here even before you came onto YouTube. Nothing is going to happen. Even if you take a little break, people are still going to continue watching you when you get back. So of course, since I didn't upload one of the video, the amount that I spent on investments is a little bit lower than usual. I only had 3 videos edited for me this month, and they come out to a total of $391. This brings the total spending to $846.72. Moving on swiftly to food and drinks, this is usually the killer category for my monthly expenses because it is usually the biggest. So to be fair, I think because my income has risen quite a bit since I graduated from school, so I've been easing up on my spending on food and drinks. I honestly don't spend on much things other than my YouTube channel and perhaps travel to some extent. So I realized that spending a bit more money on food and drinks with my family, my girlfriend, also brings me a bit more joy. So I plan to do that a bit more often and a bit more intentionally at the same time. I know my channel is mostly about personal finance, and I know I should be doing all these things, and I know I'm telling you guys that should be budgeting, should be saving money, but I honestly feel that of course you should be financially responsible, but finding things that you can spend money onto that makes you happy is also one of the ways to enjoy your life. What's the point of having all this money if you are not enjoying yourself, and you're just going to grow old, and then all these habits are going to continue, and you're not going to enjoy your life. Whether you're young or you're old, you're just going to be quite miserable keeping all that money to yourself and not enjoying your life. Ultimately, money is a means to an end, and deep down we all just want to be happy. So don't hold on to your money too tightly to the point of misery, but instead try to spend your money more wisely and intentionally on the things that you truly feel brings you joy and you feel are the most precious in your life. So I spent a total of $562.99 on food and drinks this month, bringing the total spending to $1,409.71. The last category is of course taxes, insurance and rent that stays consistent every single month. I usually pay $300 for taxes, $200 for insurance and $500 as rent that I give to my mom every single month. So to be fair, taxes and insurance are more of a lump sum payment that I do every year. So I'm just budgeting it in and saving up for it so that I can do that one lump sum payment every year so that I don't forget about them and I don't have to dip into my savings or investments in order to pay for these things. So that amounts to around $1,000 every single month on these kind of necessities that cannot be saved. This brings the grand total for my spending in October to $2,409.71. I think my food expenses were overall a few $100 lesser than last month because of my overseas trip to Vietnam. So I counted those expenses into last month's money diaries and I was able to offset it with my travel fund and my emergency fund. So that's why it's important to keep track of your income and expenses every month so that you know exactly what you're spending on and how you can improve on it. You honestly don't have to be super accurate and OCD about it because I used to do that and I absolutely hated my life when I was doing that. Doing just enough so that you can have a somewhat accurate gauge of how much money that you actually have is going to help you gain freedom to be able to plan overseas trips and to purchase things outright without having to worry about whether you can afford it or not. People usually think that they do not have freedom if they continuously keep track of their expenses when it is usually the other way around. If you do not keep track, you will forever be guessing and that might just lead you down the road to financial ruin. Hopefully this helps you guys have a sneak peek into the cost of living as a Singaporean in the month of October. If you enjoyed this video here, then you'll probably enjoy this video here on how to invest as a beginner on the Momo Singapore app. Thanks for watching, have an amazing day as usual, and I'll see you guys in the next few videos. Bye bye.